So I'm Roger Clark and I'm the Interim CEO for Hammersmith, Fulham, Ealing and Hounslow Mind. So I've been working in the third sector for 25 years now. So yeah, quite a long time and lots of different experiences. So I've worked with organisations who have supported people on the fringes of society. So different settings, so working in housing, day centres, outreach teams, focusing on homelessness, mental health, young people. So a range of different charities, but there's always been that theme of mental health running through the services that I've overseen, because obviously mental health has such an impact on people for all parts of their lives. So often loss of housing is due to linked to people's mental health challenges. Obviously, funding has become more challenging, always with in times of economic hardship. Us as voluntary organisations, third sector organisations, trying to source funding, commissioning and the challenges around government budgets in order to fund services. All of those things have become more difficult. From when I first started in the sector, there were opportunities to get funding for different projects, to explore and innovate, whereas nowadays I feel that it's incredibly difficult, and the timing around funding as well. So often funding is only short term for 12 months. So as organisations we're going through cycles of instability every 12 months, whereas previously programmes perhaps would be funded for 3 to 5 years to help you to deliver impact. Yes, so as I said, I've worked in the sector for 25 years. I've been a senior manager for 16 years. 2 years ago, I decided to work on a freelance basis, running my own consultancy, which has included undertaking interim roles. So I've had a number of interim roles with different organisations. So I enjoy the opportunity to come in on an interim basis to act as a custodian. And I saw the opportunity with Mind, and having my background of overseeing mental health services, there was a natural fit. I live in West London, so I know the area well. I've lived in London for 30 years. So it was very much the motivation and attraction of the role was the opportunity to work for Mind, the local area, and the opportunity to undertake an interim role and be a custodian for services to support the chief exec currently, who's off on maternity leave. So all those different factors attracted me to the role, and I was fortunate enough to be successful. So I've seen a lot of changes. Obviously, for all of us, the pandemic had a significant impact in terms of the movement of people. So people moving out of London, the birth rate dropping. So as an area, there's more empty shops and vacant properties. So I think that's been a real dynamic for London as a whole, but certainly my experience of West London. Those kind of situations have an impact on community. So as the pandemic affected, it brought people together, but also isolated people. So from my perspective, there's an opportunity around mental health to try and now rebuild those communities and to offer the support so that people feel that they can deal with their mental health challenges. We're really sort of coming out of rebuilding, linking together as a community within the West London area. So from that perspective, I'm very motivated to support the work of this organisation as we try to give people the chance to reconnect, to seek support and really help them around their mental health challenges in 2025. Just as an organisation that's there for everyone who's going through difficult times with regards to their mental health, and having the expertise and support available to really support and care and innovate and be open to finding projects and services for people so that they don't feel the stigma or challenge of mental health, and that they can be active participants of society in a positive way. I think it's incredibly challenging for the third sector to be working in this current funding environment. The instability of commissioning and funding, often with contracts being extended on a short term, as well as other grant programs. There are a number of charitable foundations who have stopped grant programs in order to reassess. So for us as voluntary organisations, it's incredibly challenging having that instability. Obviously, we're going through situations where we may have staff leaving, where we may have to open or close services. All of those things cost money. So for us, the opportunities to have longer term sustainable funding in order that we can make real impact are things that we're desperate for. And as an organisation working in this local area, the more support that we can have in order to be more focused on the longer term. Obviously, longer term support has been shown to help people out of mental health challenges. So if we're insecure and unstable in terms of our operations, then that doesn't mean that we can be there for everyone that we need to be in terms of their mental health. So more longer term funding has greater impact and gives us the opportunity to make a real difference to people facing mental health challenges. For me, the third sector's advantage has always been our values base combined with our expertise. So our ability to compete for any contracts around that added value that we bring, the values-based approach, the background and expertise. Minders organisations nationally have been around for a number of years. We've been working locally for decades. So obviously finance and the budget and the ability for the private sector to come in and undercut potentially contracts. But for me, fundamentally, that's a race to the bottom with regards to the quality of what's delivered. And people in crisis don't need, they need a quality service, they need quality support, and they need people who are helping them, who have the qualifications, who have the expertise. We need to fund the programs that make real impact in terms of mental health. My fear about the private sector is that it will be a bottom line approach about economies of scale rather than quality of work. And I've seen it in a number of sectors, housing, homelessness, where the value of the contracts being offered has been undercut by the private sector. We're offering that extra funding coming in, but it's mean a drop in the quality. So therefore, long term, it's not sustainable because more people return to the cycle of mental health, return to the cycle of homelessness, return to the cycle of falling out of the fringes of society. So for me, if you invest in quality and the quality that Mind delivers, then you will get a better long-term return in terms of the people that you support. So I really enjoy working in the third sector. I'm very new to Mind, but I'm also already really enjoying the role here because of the people that you work with, because the values that they hold, because the impact that you can have on making society better. I was very fortunate to grow up in a very stable home and have lots of support, have the opportunity to study and develop myself. So I'm very motivated to help other people who may not have had those opportunities and therefore their mental health is suffering for whatever reason. So I enjoy the difference that we can make as organisations and already the difference that in serving Hammersmith, Fulham Ealing and Hounslow in leading Mind, it's very motivating for me to do this work. Yes, so twice a year I go to Croyd to bodyboard. It is undoubtedly one of my favourite things in the world because just that sense of freedom. Often it's very cold, but you have the full wetsuit and get the opportunity to go into the water, to get out on the waves and catch some waves on the bodyboard. I'm a terrible surfer. I enjoy lying down on the board rather than standing up. But yeah, twice a year in May and October, I head down to Croyd with friends and we go for a weekend and bodyboard. And I find for my own mental health, knowing that I've got that opportunity, it allows me to, in the times in between, with regards to my family, with regards to my work, it allows me to know that I've got that opportunity for a reset. So I've been doing it for since the pandemic for the last 5 years, and it's something that helps me to know that whatever the stresses or strains that I've got in my life in the rest of the year, that I've got the anchor of those 2 opportunities each year to go and jump in the sea. Yeah, so naturally I'm quite a positive person, but also I try and be as self-aware as I can be if I'm finding things challenging. So again, taking those opportunities sort of to reset. Another thing that I do is coach football. So I coach girls football, under 10s and under 12s. So it's just those kind of opportunities of a weekend to get out in the fresh air and do something fun and teach people new skills. I like to go to the gym. I like to cook. I'm very social. I have strong networks that support me through friends from school, university, or my previous working careers. So I'm very conscious to make sure that I stay connected with people. I have a very strong family that support me. I'm fortunate to still have both my parents. So all of those things help me when I am facing challenges or feeling stressed, which is natural, and it's natural when you care about your work to feel that if things aren't going well, that things are difficult. So yeah, most of the time I'm able to sustain that positivity, but I also have opportunities when things do get difficult, just to call on people's support and have those around me help me if I do find myself struggling. Yeah, so when I first joined the voluntary sector, I joined as a project worker in a service, and the CEO of that organisation at the time, I had a really good conversation, maybe in my first week with him, about how he led the organisation and the way that he approached the work. And he used the organisational values as an anchor. He used the organisational values as a way, when there are difficult conversations or challenging situations, or incidents or things that might throw you off kilter, he was always based around having conversations coming back to the values of that organisation. And so in every organisation I've worked in, and part of my attraction of coming to Hammersmith, Fulham, Ealing and Hounslow Mind was about the values. And so I've used the values of each organisation in situations where perhaps there've been difficult conversations between staff, or there's been a challenging situation with a service user. I've always remembered what he said to me about how you can anchor your work if everyone understands that the way to work is through your values. And that's been a distinct difference from perhaps other sectors that, as I touched on, if you have a good set of values that you can keep sense-checking conversations, sense-checking difficult decisions around, how does this fit with our values? What do our values tell us about what we should do? That's really helped me throughout the different roles that I've had in the voluntary sector in terms of my career. I think it's incredibly important for companies to have mental health first aiders in their staff, because a happy workforce is a productive workforce, a workforce that have got the opportunity to get support around potentially when they're feeling low or they're having difficult times in their lives, again, is a much more productive workforce than a workforce that is struggling with mental health and can't see where they can get support. So having those qualified mental health first aiders within a staff team is such a valuable tool to be in order that staff know that actually I'm having quite a difficult day, but I know that my colleague is qualified, that I can have a conversation. I know that there's a support there. I know there's no stigma about the challenge that I may face in terms of my mental health, because my organisation, my company, my employer has shown their commitment towards positive mental health by enabling people to undertake the training. So mental health for me is about that ability, just as with physical health, to be able to train your mind, to be able to interact with your mind in a positive way so that you can achieve things in your life. So just as with physical health, you want to ensure that you're eating the right things, that you're taking exercise, that you're sleeping. All of those things are linked in my mind, to your mind, and being able to ensure that you have the best possible situation in terms of how you think about things, how things affect you, how you engage with life, how you engage with relationships. So from that perspective, mental health is about that link between physical and your mind for how you play your part in society. Yeah, so for me, the challenges that people face who are on the fringes of society is because they don't have the networks to support them. So just you or I, should we be in difficulty, we would be able to speak to potentially family or friends or colleagues about the struggles that we're facing. So many of the people that I've met throughout my career haven't had that network, haven't had that support. And in not having that support, then therefore they feel isolated. And obviously the more that you're isolated, the more that you go into your own mind and face the sort of challenges and difficulties that perhaps feel overwhelming. So certainly what I've seen in terms of my career is that as the pressures of society to earn more, to have a bigger house, to have more possessions, to keep up with the latest trends, to know what's right or wrong in terms of fashion or social media, all of these pressures on people create that sort of negative influences. So from my perspective, it's how we as organisations can offer opportunities for people to express themselves about those challenges, but also allow them to be able to make their own decisions and guide and support them to a more positive mindset. Absolutely. So from that perspective, Mind has the history and experience of running a range of different projects for all ages as a one-stop shop to support people who are going through mental health challenges or difficulties. So that's our area of expertise, and it's a role that we want to play in society ongoing.